Listen carefully, my friend. Every morning, millions of men over 60 wake up and unknowingly fuel the very problem that's stealing their sleep, draining their energy, and quietly eroding their confidence. They reach for the same trusted foods they've eaten for decades: crispy bacon, a bowl of cereal, buttered toast, a tall glass of orange juice. Foods that seem as American as apple pie, as innocent as Sunday morning. But here's the shocking truth most doctors won't tell you. These breakfast staples, the ones marketed as normal or even healthy, are among the worst triggers for prostate inflammation you could possibly put in your body. Have you ever wondered why your nights have become restless? Why you're making 3, 4, even 5 trips to the bathroom after midnight? Why your stream has weakened to barely a trickle, leaving you standing there, frustrated and embarrassed? Why that confidence you once felt as a man seems to slip away with each passing month? The answer may not be your age, my friend. It may be sitting right there on your breakfast plate. You see, your prostate, that walnut-sized gland that's supposed to support your manhood, reacts violently to certain foods. Foods that spike your insulin, flood your system with inflammatory compounds, and irritate your bladder like sandpaper on silk. And breakfast is the prime danger zone. Most men think prostate enlargement is just part of getting older. It happens to everyone, they tell themselves. But that's a dangerous lie. Benign prostatic hyperplasia, BPH, affects over 80% of men by age 70. Yes, but it's not inevitable. And it's certainly not something you have to accept quietly. The tragedy is that while you're trusting these morning rituals, they're quietly choking the life out of your prostate, swelling it like a sponge soaked in poison, pressing against your urethra until every bathroom trip becomes an exercise in frustration. You are not alone in this, my friend. This is common, but it is not your destiny. The power to change everything starts with understanding the hidden enemies hiding in plain sight on your breakfast table. But the first hidden danger sits in the most innocent-looking bowl on your table, something you've likely eaten for decades without question. Picture this: it's 7 a.m. You pour yourself a generous bowl of the same cereal you've trusted for 30 years. The box promises heart-healthy whole grains and essential vitamins. You feel virtuous, responsible even. You're starting your day right. But my friend, you're pouring gasoline on smoldering embers. That innocent-looking cereal, whether it's cornflakes, granola, or those colorful loops your grandkids love, is a sugar bomb in disguise. Within minutes of hitting your stomach, it breaks down into pure glucose, sending your blood sugar skyrocketing like a rocket ship. Here's what happens next, and pay close attention because this is where the damage begins. Your pancreas panics and floods your system with insulin. This insulin surge doesn't just handle the sugar. It triggers a cascade of inflammatory markers throughout your body. And your prostate? Your prostate absorbs this inflammation like a dry sponge soaks up water. Think of inflammation as rust spreading through metal pipes. It corrodes, it swells, it chokes off the flow. That's exactly what's happening to the delicate tissues around your urethra. The more inflamed your prostate becomes, the more it presses against that narrow tube, turning what should be a strong, confident stream into a weak, intermittent dribble. I remember speaking with Robert, a 64-year-old contractor from Ohio. For 40 years, he started every day with a big bowl of granola. It's healthy, he'd say. Better than donuts, right? But Robert was waking up 3 times every night, standing over the toilet for minutes at a time, barely getting a few drops out. His wife slept in the guest room because his constant rustling kept her awake. His confidence was shot. The cruel irony? The food industry has spent decades convincing men like Robert that cereal is the foundation of a healthy breakfast. They've wrapped sugar in fiber, sprinkled it with vitamins, and called it nutrition. But for a man over 60 with an already vulnerable prostate, it's nutritional sabotage. Every morning that you choose that bowl of cereal, you're choosing inflammation. You're choosing to feed the very problem that's stealing your nights and your peace of mind. If cereal is bad, at least bacon and sausage should be safe, right? My friend, the truth is far more dangerous than you imagine. Now we turn to what many men consider the backbone of a real breakfast: that sizzling bacon, those golden sausage links, that thick slice of ham, foods that make you feel strong, satisfied, masculine, foods your father ate and his father before him. But listen carefully. What feels like strength food is quietly draining yours. Processed meats are inflammation factories wrapped in protein. They're loaded with saturated fats that clog your arteries and nitrates that preserve the meat but poison your body. When you eat bacon or sausage, you're not just consuming food, you're consuming a chemical cocktail designed to inflame every tissue it touches. Here's the science that will shock you: nitrates and nitrites, the preservatives that keep processed meats looking pink and fresh, convert in your stomach into compounds called nitrosamines. These nitrosamines are known carcinogens, but their immediate effect is even more devastating. They trigger systemic inflammation that makes your prostate swell like a balloon. Think of it this way: imagine stuffing thick grease into your kitchen pipes, day after day, meal after meal. Eventually, the flow slows to a trickle, then stops altogether. That's what saturated fat does to the delicate circulation around your prostate. It chokes off blood flow, starves the tissue of oxygen, and creates the perfect environment for inflammation to take root. I met James at a health seminar in Phoenix. A 67-year-old retired police officer, he prided himself on his big breakfast tradition: bacon, sausage, eggs, the works. Every Saturday morning, he and his buddies would hit the local diner and feast like kings. "It's what men do," he'd laugh. But James wasn't laughing when he told me about the rest of his week. The urgency that hit him without warning during his golf games. The embarrassment of excusing himself from dinner parties. The nights spent pacing the hallway, desperate for relief that wouldn't come. His weekend tradition of strength had become a weekly ritual of weakening his most vital gland. Research shows that men who regularly consume processed meats have double the risk of severe urinary symptoms compared to those who avoid them. Double. That's not a coincidence. That's cause and effect. Every bite of processed meat is like adding another log to the fire that's burning inside your prostate. The saturated fat feeds the flames, the nitrates fan them higher, and the inflammation spreads like wildfire through your system. But the next food is even more deceptive because it hides under the mask of simplicity and innocence. Let's talk about toast. Simple, humble toast. Maybe with a little butter, maybe some jam. It seems so innocent, so basic, so safe. My friend, you're building your breakfast on quicksand. White bread is sugar in disguise. Within minutes of eating it, your body breaks it down into pure glucose. The same glucose that would flood your system if you ate a candy bar. Your pancreas sees no difference between a slice of white toast and a handful of sugar cubes. None whatsoever. This is where the damage compounds. Remember that insulin spike from your cereal? Now add the glucose bomb from white bread. Your blood sugar doesn't just rise, it explodes. And with it comes another massive wave of inflammation, another assault on your already vulnerable prostate. But here's what makes white bread particularly insidious: it offers nothing in return. At least sugar gives you energy, however brief. White bread gives you the sugar spike without any nutrients to help your body handle it. It's like building a house on sand, unstable, unsustainable, and destined to collapse under pressure. Picture your prostate as a fortress under siege. Every inflammatory food is another catapult hurling stones at the walls. White bread isn't just one catapult, it's a battering ram, delivering massive, concentrated damage with every serving. I think of Michael, a 61-year-old accountant who thought he was being smart. He'd skip the sugary cereals, skip the fatty meats, and just have simple toast with coffee. Light, easy, sensible. But Michael was still making 4 trips to the bathroom every night. His stream was so weak he had to sit down like a woman. His confidence was shattered. The problem was that Michael's light breakfast was anything but. Those 2 slices of white toast were delivering the same inflammatory punch as a donut and a soda. His prostate was under constant attack and he didn't even know it. Refined carbohydrates like white bread also fuel weight gain, especially around the belly. And abdominal fat? It's an inflammation factory, pumping out toxic compounds 24 hours a day, keeping your prostate in a constant state of irritation and swelling. You thought you were keeping it light, but the truth is the opposite. Every slice of white bread is heavy with consequences, heavy with inflammation, heavy with the very compounds that are stealing your manhood one bite at a time. But if bread is the empty enemy, what about fruit juice, the symbol of health itself? Here lies one of the cruelest traps of all. Now we come to perhaps the most heartbreaking deception of all: orange juice. For decades, we've been told it's liquid sunshine, packed with vitamin C, the perfect way to start a healthy morning. Drink your juice, your mother said. It's good for you. My friend, I'm about to shatter an illusion that's been poisoning men for generations. Store-bought orange juice, even the kind labeled 100% pure or no sugar added, is nothing more than liquid candy masquerading as health food. When you drink a tall glass of orange juice, you're consuming as much sugar as a can of soda, sometimes more. But unlike soda, juice tricks you into thinking you're doing something virtuous. Here's the acid test, literally. Orange juice contains concentrated citric acid that irritates your bladder and prostate like pouring lemon juice on an open wound. That burning sensation you sometimes feel after drinking juice? That's not normal. That's your body screaming in protest. But the sugar content is where the real damage happens. A single glass of orange juice contains the concentrated sugar of 4 to 6 oranges, stripped of all the fiber that would normally slow absorption. This sugar hits your bloodstream like a tidal wave, triggering the same inflammatory cascade we've been talking about, but faster and more intensely than almost any other food. Think of it this way. When you eat an orange, the fiber acts like a sponge, slowly releasing sugar into your system. When you drink orange juice, it's like mainlining sugar directly into your veins. Your pancreas goes into crisis mode, your inflammation markers explode, and your prostate swells in response. I'll never forget David, a 65-year-old teacher from Michigan. He was proud of his healthy morning routine. Fresh orange juice every day, sometimes 2 glasses. I'm getting my vitamins, he'd tell his wife. This is how you start the day right. But David was anything but right. By 10 a.m., he was already feeling the urgency. By lunchtime, he was planning his afternoon around bathroom locations. By evening, he was exhausted from the constant interruptions, the constant worry, the constant reminder that something was very wrong. The cruelest part? David thought he was being responsible. The juice industry had convinced him that concentrated fruit sugar was somehow different from regular sugar, that natural meant healthy, that vitamins could somehow neutralize the inflammatory assault he was launching on his prostate every morning. Even worse, the acid in orange juice creates a perfect storm in your bladder. It irritates the lining, making you feel like you need to urinate even when your bladder isn't full. Combined with the inflammation it triggers in your prostate, you get the worst of both worlds: constant urgency and diminished flow. You start your morning thinking you're flooding your body with health, but you're actually flooding it with liquid inflammation, liquid irritation, liquid destruction of the very gland that defines your manhood. And yet, even the spreads we trust to lighten our mornings may be doing the opposite, coating our bodies in chemicals that inflame from within. Let's talk about the final pieces of this toxic morning puzzle: the spreads, the creamers, the little additions that seem so harmless but deliver devastating blows to your prostate health. Margarine, that yellow spread that promised to be healthier than butter, cheaper than butter, better for your heart than butter. My friend, margarine is chemical warfare disguised as food. Margarine is loaded with trans fats, artificial fats created in laboratories, not nature. These trans fats don't just raise your bad cholesterol and lower your good cholesterol. They ignite inflammation throughout your entire body, like gasoline on a campfire. When trans fats hit your bloodstream, they trigger an inflammatory response so severe that your immune system treats them like foreign invaders. Your prostate, already vulnerable and under siege, becomes ground zero for this chemical assault. Trans fats infiltrate the delicate tissues, disrupting cell membranes, choking off circulation, and creating an environment where inflammation thrives like bacteria in a petri dish. But perhaps even worse are the coffee additions that millions of men think are harmless. Those flavored creamers, those packets of sugar, that artificial sweetener you think is helping you cut calories. Picture your morning coffee ritual. You pour in that vanilla creamer, maybe add a sugar packet or 2, perhaps some artificial sweetener to be healthy. What you're really doing is creating a triple threat: dairy proteins that many men become intolerant to as they age, sugar that spikes inflammation, and artificial chemicals that your body doesn't recognize as food. Coffee itself isn't the enemy. In fact, plain black coffee has anti-inflammatory properties. But when you turn it into a dessert with creamers and sweeteners, you transform a potential ally into another weapon against your prostate. The dairy in creamers is particularly problematic for men over 60. As we age, many of us lose the ability to properly digest lactose and casein, the proteins in dairy. When these proteins hit your digestive system without proper enzymes to break them down, they ferment, creating inflammatory compounds that circulate throughout your body. Add sugar to this mix, and you've got a perfect storm brewing in your coffee cup. The sugar feeds harmful bacteria in your gut, creating more inflammation. The artificial chemicals in processed creamers, stabilizers, emulsifiers, preservatives, add another layer of toxic burden that your liver has to process, your kidneys have to filter, and your prostate has to endure. I remember speaking with Frank, a 69-year-old mechanic who couldn't start his day without his special coffee, 3 cups loaded with flavored creamer and sugar. "It's the only pleasure I have left," he'd joke, but Frank wasn't laughing when he told me about his bathroom habits. Constant urgency, weak stream, getting up 5 times a night. His pleasure had become his prison. Every sip of that sweetened, creamed coffee was coating his arteries in inflammatory sludge while revving his system like an engine without oil. The combination of caffeine, sugar, and dairy was creating a perfect storm of bladder irritation and prostate inflammation. Think of it like this. You're coating your insides with chemical paint every morning, layer after layer, until the natural function of your most vital organs gets smothered under the toxic buildup. My friend, now you see the complete picture. Each food alone is harmful, but together they form a morning ritual of destruction. Yet there is hope, and this final truth ties everything together. Now you see the truth, my friend. The complete picture of how your trusted morning routine has become a daily assault on your prostate health. But don't despair. Knowledge is power, and power is the first step toward reclaiming your manhood, your nights, and your peace of mind. Think of your prostate as a fortress, strong, vital, designed to protect and support your masculine function. But even the mightiest fortress will crumble under constant bombardment. Every morning you've been unknowingly launching artillery shells at your own walls. Sugar bombs from cereal, inflammatory strikes from processed meat, acid attacks from orange juice, chemical warfare from margarine and sweetened coffee. Day after day, year after year, these foods weaken your defenses. They create chronic inflammation that swells your prostate like a sponge soaked in poison. They spike your insulin, which feeds the inflammation. They irritate your bladder, making you feel urgent even when you don't need to go. They clog your circulation, starving your prostate of the oxygen and nutrients it needs to function properly. But here's what gives me hope, and what should give you hope too. Your body wants to heal. Your prostate wants to shrink back to its proper size. Your urinary function wants to restore itself to strength and confidence. The moment you stop feeding the inflammation, the moment you stop launching those daily attacks, your body begins to repair the damage. The solution isn't complicated, but it requires commitment. Instead of inflammatory cereals, choose steel-cut oats with fresh berries, foods that stabilize blood sugar rather than spiking it. Instead of processed meats, choose wild-caught fish rich in anti-inflammatory omega-3 fatty acids. Instead of white bread, choose genuine whole grains that nourish rather than inflame. Instead of orange juice, choose herbal tea or plain water with a slice of fresh lemon. Instead of margarine and sugary creamers, choose natural fats like avocado or drink your coffee black. These aren't sacrifices, they're investments. Investments in sleeping through the night. Investments in urinating with strength and confidence. Investments in feeling like a man again instead of a victim of your own aging body. I think of all the men I've spoken with who made these changes. Robert, the contractor who gave up his granola habit and now sleeps 8 hours straight for the first time in 5 years. James, the retired police officer who replaced his bacon breakfast with salmon and avocado, and whose golf games are no longer interrupted by desperate bathroom runs. Michael, who switched from white toast to almond butter on whole grain bread and discovered his stream could be strong again. David, who gave up orange juice for green tea and stopped living his life around bathroom locations. Frank, who learned to love his coffee black and rich instead of sweet and creamy, and whose nights became peaceful again. These men didn't just change their breakfast, they reclaimed their lives. They remembered what it felt like to wake up rested instead of exhausted. They rediscovered the confidence of knowing their body would respond when they needed it to. They found their way back to intimacy, energy, and the quiet dignity of a body that works the way it's supposed to. The damage these foods cause isn't just physical, it's psychological, emotional, spiritual. When you can't trust your body to perform its most basic functions, when you're constantly worried about finding a bathroom, when your nights are broken by urgent trips that barely produce results, you lose more than sleep. You lose confidence. You lose spontaneity. You lose the easy comfort of living in a body that serves you instead of betraying you. But here's the truth that doctors rarely share. This decline isn't inevitable. The gradual erosion of your masculine function isn't just part of getting older, it's often the result of choices. Choices you can change starting tomorrow morning. Your prostate is remarkably resilient. Given the right conditions, it can reduce inflammation, decrease in size, and restore proper function. Your urinary system can return to strength. Your nights can become restful again. Your confidence can rebuild itself one successful bathroom trip at a time. The power to change everything is sitting right there on your breakfast table. Every meal is a choice. Will you feed the inflammation that's stealing your manhood, or will you nourish the healing that can restore it? Remember this, my friend. Your mornings set the tone for your entire day, and your daily choices set the tone for your health. Guard your mornings carefully, and you guard your manhood, your energy, your dignity, and your peace of mind. You have more control than you realize. You have more power than you've been told. And you have more hope than you might feel right now. The choice is yours. The power is in your hands. And the time to start is right now, with your very next meal. Share your story in the comments below. Tell us about your morning routine and how it might be affecting your health. And join me for more truths that most men will never hear, because the medical establishment isn't incentivized to teach them, and the food industry certainly doesn't want you to know them. Your health is your responsibility, your healing is your choice, and your future is entirely in your hands.